Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're going to be reviewing the price action on Cardano's ADA, what's been going on most recently and what I think is going to happen next. As I get into the video, if you find it useful and informative, smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe, and if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, link is in the description below. Why not check it out? It's completely free, it's a fantastic community, and it's the first place that we go to notify you of everything that's going on in the crypto space. Let's waste no time, let's jump right down into this video on Cardano's ADA. So let's first of all talk about recent videos and kind of expectations on things, because clearly people are unfortunately getting confused between a couple of the videos that have gone out. One, I'm saying that a crash is coming. Yes, I still think that is valid, and I also think that a pump is coming after that crash. It's all about timelines and horizons. Unfortunately, there are individuals out in the space that don't actually watch the videos. They just kind of like look at the title, look at the thumbnail, and then think, I'm just chopping and changing the directions of the market at a whim with no logical explanation behind it. And obviously that's absolute garbage and nonsense. And to even have to even acknowledge it in a video is just absolutely bonkers to me. But there you go. There's a timeline and a time horizon to things. Nothing moves in straight lines. If you want to go up, you must first go down, and vice versa, right? It's quite straightforward and quite simple, at least to me in my mind, mainly because I look at this stuff every single day, and see, I don't want to just keep regurgitating the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. I would like to actually give you slightly further, more futuristic thought patterns as well. And so sometimes I jump from taking a look at the 1 hour time frame, which is your real micro movements, all the way up to the weekly time frame, right? And kind of giving you kind of bigger timelines to kind of be thinking about. Now, maybe I don't do a good enough job of explaining it, but I think for the most part, it's just people who are not watching the videos or skipping along, and they're not actually paying attention to what's going on what time frames and what exchanges the data is being fed from and all that kind of stuff. And so in this video, I'm going to try to articulate it clearer than I maybe have done previously to hopefully prevent some of that confusion in the space. That sometimes you just can't help the people who are not going to even watch the videos and just comment regardless. So, on that note, this chart right here, this is Cardano's ADA against or paired with USDT. We're using the BitGet spot exchange, and this is the 1 hour time frame. That means that these are the micro movements that I expect to play out within the next couple of days. Now, inside this chart here, we are using the smart money concepts by 𝗕𝗓𝗪. This gives us the indication of big orders coming in and out of the space, allowing us to see fair value gaps, and fair value gaps have a tendency to getting filled out. Now, do not get me wrong. The 𝗕𝗓𝗪 Smart Money Concepts indicator doesn't always indicate the fair value gaps. Sometimes it doesn't mark them up. A good clear example is there's a candle just over here most recently that should be marked up as a fair value gap right here, and yet it hasn't been marked up. So it's important that we were able to spot these and draw them accordingly. Okay, so on this note, we can see that we've got a few fair value gaps on this 1 hour time frame. There are 5 that we can see just here. We have 2 on the low side. We have them down at this area here. Let me just go ahead and draw that in. This one comes in at 24.3386 to 24.7620. Okay, just above that one, we have another fair value gap. Let's see if I can actually get this one pinned in here. Right there. This one comes in at the 25 cent to 25.33 cent. Okay, and then we have another one just up here. This gap comes in on the 26.1489 to 26.4800. And then we have another gap up here. Okay, this one's the one that we're currently in at the moment. 27.3295 to 27.7523. Can you tell I just did a Bitcoin video? Anyway, so we've got those fair value gaps. So then the one right at the top here that's just happened and just being created is 28.1858 to 28.7958. Okay, so these fair value gaps, if we jump over to the BitGet exchange here, we can see we've got trading view, we can got the fair value gaps on here. This is the daily time frame. Okay, so daily versus the hourly. We can go put it to the hourly if we want to, just so you can kind of see the gaps that are in there, right? So you have those four plus the one that's just been created. And these are created from the imbalances of the order books, as I often say. Essentially, in this particular case, large buy orders have come in, which hasn't been met by sufficient selling pressure. So price has to go from the low side to the high side to find the sellers, and then basically sell that ADA at the more expensive price to the people who were placed their buy orders at the lower range. This typically is something that most normal people aren't going to continue buying at those higher prices. They wanted to buy it at, let's say, down here at this low range of 24 cent, but end up paying up here the premium range at maybe 25 cent. They're not going to be overly happy with that necessarily, specifically on these large orders, because they're large buy orders, right? That's the idea of smart money. So when you start seeing them stacked up like this, it makes you question whether or not this is legitimate, or whether the market is being pushed in a particular direction. Now for ADA here, I think it is legitimate, mainly because we don't see like stack, and we don't see really straight line movements to the upside where price is just being pushed in one direction. Instead, we do see some overlapping movements in here, and we do see some fair value gaps that have already been captured in here as well. So to me, it looks like it's quite natural, but we just had some large orders at the beginning here for this move to the upside. I imagine that we are probably going to start moving our way down into these fair value gaps and going down into new lower lows. Now, if you are looking for a new exchange, then why not check out 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗕? The affiliate link is in the description down below. I use 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗕 as my go-to platform for all leverage trading, and about 90 to 95% of my spot trading is also done on 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗕. There's some fantastic sign-up deals available on the affiliate link in the description below, as well as some fantastic offers down in the Discord server for trading competitions that Chris and myself run at Cheeky Crypto. No affiliation with anyone else, it's just something that we do, and we use that affiliate link to gather people's data so that we can see who has the best P&L for the week, and then basically give them $100 as a prize for winning that trading competition. So if that's of interest to you, check it out. There's many different things that 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗕 are doing to try to keep the community engaged in crypto. There's some fantastic offers from time to time as well. So why not check it out? If you're looking for a new exchange, something that I think has a real promise for the future, then why not check out 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗕? Affiliate link is in the description below. Let's jump back down into the charts, right? So we have all these fair value gaps. We expect price to move down at some point into filling these out. Now, nothing moves in straight lines. This is the kind of the key thing here. As I've been saying, I'm still expecting a move to the downside, but we cannot rule out a move to the upside either, right? These things have to happen together and in synergy from time to time. Now, from our structured point, if we take a look at it from a daily point of view here, we know that we do have ourselves, although it's not the best structure here, I don't like this as a wave one, it does meet those requirements where we have this kind of idea of a 5-wave structure. Now, I don't like this one here because it would rely on us going a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5th being the extension, and I don't like that, but it is still technically valid. We could also maybe even argue that we are in some kind of nested structure as well, where we actually have a kind of wave 1 here, 2, all of this is 3, 4, and then 5, and then that sits inside a wave 1, 2, all of that's 3, 4, then 5, right? So you can see there's a bearish stance here, but nothing moves in straight lines, and we expected this move to the upside. We expected a pump before we expected a move to the downside, because you need a wave 4. Okay, and you can kind of see here that we are almost done with this move. It looks like we are in that range. If I bring up this chart here, for example, this is basically Cardano on the hourly paired up with USDT, but on Binance. We can actually probably use it on here, but I'd like to keep this one separate on 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗕 for the smart money concept. So we're going to use Binance for the Elliott wave here. So when we take a look at this, we can see that we have a bit of a move to the upside, right? We can kind of take a look at this from the low end. We have wave up, we have this wave coming down here, and then we have this move coming up here. We have a double top, which is a bearish tail as well. So if we go ahead and throw that right on there, not that one, we need this one right in here. If I throw that right there, you can see we have this double top. That's a bearish tail as well. And we broke down from this double top situation. Okay, so what we have kind of going on here, if I can stop moving this chart around, we can see that we have an A, B, and up into C, right? But that C might not be done just yet. I think it probably is, but we won't really get confirmation until we get a better structured move to the downside here. Okay, so it's important that we understand that there's still possibly a move to the upside to be had. Now, when we take a look at this internal workings, we can see that we do have a potential for a 5-wave drop right here. Okay, so we have our high at 30.49, and this high right here comes in at 30.5. That basically means that this here is actually technically higher and would have to be the end of our C-wave structure. And then inside this little move to the downside here, this looks very corrective. Okay, we can probably argue there's some kind of movement in here towards the end, so maybe it's a zigzag pattern with some kind of diagonal at the beginning on the real small time frames, like the 5-minute time frames. It's probably really apparent, but it's not so apparent here on the hourly. So I would be looking at this thinking, okay, we're probably in some kind of zigzag pattern right there, and I think we are probably also looking at this as some kind of zigzag pattern as well, where we probably have to come down a bit further. All in all, that would then potentially look like a WXY or something to that effect within there, and that doesn't give us confidence to think that we've started that 5th wave movement, at least not yet. Now, it's possible, of course, that we have ourselves a structure that sits in here that is, of course, going to be more like a diagonal, which may be that we have like a wave 1 here, wave 2 here, 3, then up into 4, then down into 5. But in doing so, we're probably going to truncate. And what we mean by truncate is that we will go and fall lower than the expected or expectations of that 5th wave movement. Now, again, like I say, I'm not a big fan of this wave 1 structure up here. So it's possible that actually all we are doing are a series of zigzag patterns. Okay, and you can kind of see the workings of this here, right? We have an ABC structure right in there, right? We can see the zigzag patterns playing out. Over here, we can see another zigzag pattern playing out. It's possible that actually all we're doing here are a series of zigzag patterns, and it's mimicking the idea of 5 waves without actually being 5 waves. Okay, so all eyes are going to be on these little micro movements, just to figuring out whether or not we end up in that kind of 5th wave movement that's, seems to be what's going on the larger time frames, but on the micro time frames doesn't have the internal workings in the correct order to allow us to kind of think of that. So it might just be that we zigzag our way down. I still expect a new lower low on this one. I don't think it's going to hold for terribly too long, but we can still push up in places. Now, if we are doing double zigzags and triple zigzags and things like that, and they're getting stacked up, then we're going to see a lot of volatility. We'll see a lot of moves down, we'll see a lot of moves up, and essentially, to me, it looks like the next move is to the downside. We have to finish off a little structure in here, and that would actually then complete off another zigzag pattern, and then of course we'll bounce up, where we'll probably be talking about trying to push up again of 29 to 30 cent range, before maybe doing another move to the downside, right? So you've got to be really open-minded to this one, right? Nothing is going to move in sharp straight lines unless there's a good reason to do so, and at the moment no structure here is giving us ground to think that we're going to see really big impulsive movements to the upside. With all that being said, things have done remarkably well since we hit our new lower low 17 days ago, right? And again, I want to highlight some of the obvious things as well, right? A lot of people are bullish on the market, and I don't think that's the correct terminology. A lot of people are throwing terms around. And I want to be really clear here. You don't go down into new bear market lows in a bull market, right? You don't. Now, Bitcoin is holding its ground and is doing something totally different to what altcoins are doing. Altcoins are bleeding out right now, right? And we have new lower lows, new bear market lows for many altcoins, and more that are structuring out to go down into new lower lows. So it's hard to think, and it's really irresponsible of people to say we're in a bull market, specifically when, well, you're having new lower lows getting hit on the altcoins, right? Bull markets are really about hitting all-time highs, not all-time lows, or going down into bear market lows. Now, Bitcoin's holding its ground for now, and I don't know how sustainable that's going to be either. And if Bitcoin goes, then many of these altcoins are also going to go again, specifically to the downside. Now, Bitcoin doesn't have to go down into a new lower low. I've spoken about this many, many, many times. I suspect that it probably will, but it doesn't have to. And there's a clear distinction there. There's my personal opinion that it will probably have to go down into a new low low. And then there's the technical opinion, which is it doesn't have to. All it has to do really is correct down to 20,000, possibly push $17,000. And that's enough. That doesn't have to go down any deeper than that. So a test of the existing low, essentially, which is pretty common when we have bear market reversals for Bitcoin. Bitcoin tends to reverse out, has a good run, and then corrects down pretty heavily after that run. Okay, we saw this back in 2015, and we see this again over in 2019 into 2020, right? And obviously there was a pandemic and things like that, but essentially it didn't really matter whether the pandemic was there or not. I mean, that compounded things for sure, but ultimately Bitcoin plummeted to the downside for reasons that it had to have a correction. I mean, actually that correction started way before the pandemic pushed it down. Now, if anything, the pandemic and 2020 essentially just pushed Bitcoin a little bit further than it needed to go down. That being said, it still didn't set a new lower low for that for a bear market in that particular reversal pattern. So personal opinion to one side, it's important to reflect that Bitcoin doesn't have to go down into a new lower low, although I do suspect personally that it probably will have to. But that's my personal opinion, right? And if we were to kind of think about ADA here, well, ADA is going to suffer a mass sell-off soon. Okay, the 1st of July is going to be a mass selling event from Celsius, where those holdings are going to be converted into Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that's going to also, push the price of ADA down, right? So this relief rally that you're seeing right now is not a sustainable relief rally where we can think of reversal and the bottom being in for ADA. That compound with just people who are going to want to kind of front run that, I suspect that market for ADA is going to drop quite a bit. But again, we'll see how that one plays out. Ultimately, I think that we are going to see a lot of volatility on Cardano ADA, and I do think it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for many. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I'm going to leave it right there. If you found it useful and informative, smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Don't forget to join us in Discord. And if you're looking for a new exchange, check out the affiliate link for BitGet in the description below. Until the next one though, guys, have a fantastic day.
We are not financial advisors. None of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to lose your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.